Thank you, Sandra. As usual, that was a lovely way to get us started this morning. So good morning, everyone, and welcome to Westside Unitarian Universalist Church. Welcome to all of you who are here in person on this, can you believe it, last Sunday in August. We also welcome those of you who are joining us on YouTube, either live streaming this morning or watching sometime in the future. My name is Linda Phippen. My pronouns are she, her, and hers, and I'm a member of the worship committee. It is my privilege and pleasure to be serving as a worship associate this morning. So whether you are here in person or whether you're here virtually, we are glad you're here. Whatever your belief system or your lack of belief system, however you choose to identify yourself and live your life, we invite you to come with us as we seek a path to understanding how to be in the world and how to best follow our values. After the service, if you are here in person, we hope you will stay around for coffee, light snacks, and a chance to talk. There are some announcements in your order of service, and if you're watching on YouTube, they'll be up on the screen. You can also find announcements on our website or in our weekly e-newsletter. There are a couple additional things that were not on the order of service or on the screen. I hear that spiritual practices this morning made some, quote, kindness stones, writing messages on small stones. And they have told me that there are some blank stones lying around somewhere outside. They're not saying where exactly, but if you go out and look and see one and it speaks to you and you want to leave a message on it, pick it up and write a message and leave it with us. One other thing, the Arts and Crafts group, small but mighty, is thinking about ways to create decorations for the holiday seasons coming up, not just the big ones, the Thanksgiving or the Christmas and Halloween, but just a welcoming of the fall and the fall colors and some of the earth-based religious holidays like Mabon and Samhain. So if you're interested in that, the Arts and Crafts group meets on the first Saturday of the month, which is this coming Saturday, from noon to 2 here at the church. So now I'm going to ask Chris Edkins to come up and invite our singing bowl to sound. To further move us into the service, we are going to light our chalice and community candles. Jen Boyes is going to come up and light the chalice this morning. This chalice reading was chosen by Ellen Greenwood and was written by Julie Conrady. It comes from the UUA Worship Web. We light this chalice remembering the freedoms long established in our nation: freedom of speech, freedom of the press, freedom from the establishment of religion. We light this chalice honoring those who exemplify protecting those freedoms: librarians, booksellers, teachers, authors, journalists. We light this chalice so that by its light we may read all the books with archaic language, books with offensive material, books which affirm the diversity of the human race, books which normalize our varied sexualities, books which share multidimensional perspectives of history. May we bask in the glow of its light this morning as we illuminate, brighten, and radiate because of the books we have read and the books we have yet to read. So Jen is also going to light our 2 community candles, one for the cares and concerns we have for our world and its inhabitants, and one for those things that affirm goodness and joy in the world. Our candle of concern is an acknowledgement of the devastating landslide and flooding in Nepal that without warning wiped away entire villages and all their residents, as well as dozens, if not hundreds, of pilgrims and tourists. Nepal is a very poor country, and recovery will require years of work and resources from the richer parts of the world. As their specific needs become clearer, there will be ways in which we can help. Our other candle is lit today for something that is both joyful and sad. I suspect you might think I'm talking about Dolly Parton. Of course, her passing is a sad event, especially in this part of the country that was her home. And I'm sure I'm not the only one who was teared up a little when one of her iconic songs has come on the radio over the past few days. But you can find joy in the person she was. Her fame and fortune could have made her vain and selfish, but she chose instead to be humble and self-deprecating and so generous. The many good things she did will live on long after she is gone. So as most of you know, and maybe it's pretty obvious right now, our Reverend Carol Badeau is away on vacation, which she very much deserved. And today's sermon is going to be delivered by my fellow worship committee member and lifelong devotee of books, both personally and professionally, Ellen Greenwood.
Thank you, Linda. I don't always expect to get a real, what's the word I want? Welcome like that, or introduction like that. So a formal introduction, but I don't know. But thank you. So yes, I think I know most of you, but my name is Ellen Greenwood, and my pronouns are she, her, and hers. And I'm going to speak with you this morning about banned books. Before the service, Linda was saying, that she had the comments there, and we were both a little hesitant about using the word sermon because when I speak up here, I don't think of it as a sermon. That word has a certain weight to it, Also, as I was reading over what I had written to say to you this morning, I thought, boy, this was supposed to be a celebration, and this is the most depressing and tedious celebration I've ever heard of. So I apologize. It's going to be not quite all the 20, 25 minutes will be just kind of worrisome facts, but hopefully we'll get to some good stuff eventually. But I do apologize for maybe not being exactly what we advertised. And I'll also promise you in a few weeks, sometime in September, Linda and I have been put in charge of another service, and it is a humor service, and it will be much closer to what we have advertised. It will be a lighthearted service that I think we will all get a few laughs from and enjoy, and I think we could still use a little help. We have a couple of scripts written out, and we need some people to help us. If you are not afraid, or if you even enjoy being a little bit silly and maybe even making a fool of yourself, let either Linda or me know. We would love to have you in our merry band. Well, so banned books. This May, as I'm sure all of you are aware, there was quite a kerfuffle in Knox County when the school board released its most current list of books to be removed from school library media center collections. In compliance with the State of Tennessee's Age-Appropriate Materials Act of 2022, the school board named over 100 books, including Alex Haley's Roots, as inappropriate for students of all ages. Now, those of you who were alive in the 70s, and probably some of you who weren't, will know about the award-winning miniseries that was inspired by that book and aired in 1977. Roots gave many of us our first realistic account of the Middle Passage, that horrific transatlantic journey to America endured by enslaved Africans between the 16th and 19th centuries. Anastasia Williams, the bookshop director at the bottom, who has spoken here at Westside several times, was quoted by the Knoxville News Sentinel as saying, Haley's work showcased the violence, the brutality, and aftermath of slavery, but it also showcased the resilience and resistance of Black people and families that spans generations. Both the book and subsequent TV miniseries were cultural phenomenons that started conversations, shifted perspectives, and contributed to a collective empathy that the U.S. had not seen or heard before. And I know at least one member of this congregation, Bill, has already mentioned to me this morning that, in fact, he felt that in many ways Roots changed his life. It also led many people, Black and white, to look for their roots, and that has been quite a rewarding and interesting experience for so many people. And as you know, Alex Haley had deep connections to Tennessee, having spent much of his childhood in West Tennessee and his later years right here in Knoxville. He was an adjunct professor at UT, and he had a farm in Clinton. One of Knoxville's most iconic landmarks is a bronze statue of Haley in Morningside Park, recognized as the second largest statue of an African American in the nation. Haley is a local hero, and protests at banning Roots came from a wide range of individuals and groups, and thankfully, as a result, the school board wisely voted to remove Roots from their banned list. And others of you may remember the public outcry that arose in 2022 when the McMinn County, Tennessee School Board removed Mouse, the Pulitzer Prize-winning graphic novel by Art Spiegelman, from their 8th grade curriculum. Minutes from the board meeting cited concerns for foul language and a picture of a naked woman. I think it's important to note that in Mouse, which tells the story of Spiegelman's parents' Holocaust experience, Jews are drawn as mice and Nazis as cats. So, Spiegelman's drawing of a naked woman is actually a cartoon mouse, a cartoon mouse. The decision, ironically, was announced on International Holocaust Remembrance Day. And one school board member was quoted as saying, "The book shows people hanging. It shows them killing kids. Why does the educational system promote this kind of stuff?" Reaction to the removal of Mouse in McMinn County was remarkable and encouraging. Amazon sold out of the books almost immediately, as did many other book outlets, as people rushed to buy copies for themselves and to donate to schools and to libraries. Some bookstores gave copies away. Lovers of intellectual freedom everywhere rejoiced at the backlash. And in more recent news, just a few weeks ago, Oak Ridge schools removed over 300 books from their school libraries. Scanning through the titles deemed inappropriate for Oak Ridge students, I was interested to see how many books about the visual arts and artists, painters and sculptors and so forth, were included. Books on the work of Michelangelo, Donatello, the Impressionist, Edward Hopper, and many more have been removed from the Oak Ridge School library collections. Most notably, I thought, because he's a favorite of mine, a book by and about the internationally acclaimed inventive glass sculptor Richard Jolly, who graduated from Oak Ridge High School, is now banned from his alma mater. Of course, just to make this depressing, not very celebratory talk more depressing, censorship, including book banning, is nothing at all new. In 1644, the English poet John Milton wrote a pamphlet defending the freedom of the press. Milton was writing in opposition to an attempt by the British Parliament to pass a law that all books and pamphlets published had to be okayed by the government. In 1807, going further, Thomas Bowdler published a family-friendly version of Shakespeare, eliminating words which, he said, cannot with propriety be allowed within a family. Today, to Bowdlerize means to remove material considered obscene or improper from a text. In our service 2 weeks ago, Jackson here reminded us of possibly the most heinous series of acts of censorship in the 20th century, the burning and destruction of books and information in Europe by the Third Reich. In May of 1933, about 3.5 months after Adolf Hitler had come to power, pro-Nazi university students carried out book-burning ceremonies in towns and cities across Germany. During these events, students destroyed books by Jewish authors, pacifist works that criticized war, works praising or promoting leftist political movements such as socialism and communism, and works concerning homosexuality or transgender issues. The largest and most significant of these book-burning ceremonies took place in the center of Berlin on May 10th of 1933. Some 40,000 persons gathered to burn about 20,000 volumes. Many of the materials that were burned had been confiscated from the Institute for Sexual Science. I had never heard of the Institute of Sexual Science until I did a little research after being inspired by Jackson's comment. And it seems that this institute was headed by a man named Magnus Hirschfeld, and the institute was the first sex research center in the world. It pioneered research and treatment for various matters regarding gender and sexuality, including gay and transgender matters. In addition, it offered other services to the general public, including treatment for alcoholism, gynecological exams, marital and sex counseling, treatment for venereal diseases, and access to contraception. It reminds me just a little bit of our Planned Parenthood organization, which does so much for such a wide variety of people. Eventually, the Institute and its libraries were destroyed by the Nazi youth brigades. The wealth of knowledge that was lost in that is unfathomable. And here in Tennessee, continuing this bleak story, we are living in the shadow of one of the worst instances of censorship in modern times, the famous Scopes monkey trial. We're familiar with that, right? This trial in Dayton, Tennessee, just down the road from Knoxville, followed the state of Tennessee's criminal action against high school teacher John T. Scopes for violating a state law prohibiting the teaching of evolution in public schools. Scopes was convicted and fined. Although his conviction was overturned on a technicality, the law remained in place. Other states adopted similar laws, and the theory of human evolution basically disappeared from American high school biology textbooks until the 1960s. And I think that most of us are aware that today censorship of books and materials, especially in our high schools, is on the rise. In our schools, pardon me, is on the rise. According to PEN America, an organization that works to protect freedom of expression, our country is facing the worst epidemic of book bans since the Red Scare of the 1950s. The American Library Association's Office on Intellectual Freedom tracked 4,235 titles challenged in 2025. The second highest ever documented by the ALA, and the highest was in 2023, which was 4,240. I find it most interesting to look at the types of books that are so often censored. Of the titles challenged in 2025, 39% represent the lived experiences of LGBTQIA and people of color. Topics relating to human sexuality are frequently deemed inappropriate, not surprising, both in fiction and nonfiction. I feel pretty sure that artistic depictions of the human body are responsible for the removal of many of those art books from the Oak Ridge schools. Graphic novels is another category that takes a terrific hit from the book banners, whether they even read the books or not, I think. Even when these books deal with very serious and important topics, such as the Holocaust and the Mouse books. And of course, I do realize that I'm preaching to the choir here. We Unitarians value a free and independent search for meaning. We are not censors. We are not book banners. I do know that some of you, all of us, I'm sure, are concerned about the age appropriateness of books. The recent bans in our area schools are the direct result of Tennessee's legislation, the Age Appropriate Materials Act of 2022. And in 2024, the Tennessee legislature amended this law to say that any type of nudity or excess violence is not appropriate for students in any grade, K through 12, and to prohibit such materials from being maintained in any public school's library collection. And I have to admit that deciding which books are appropriate for a given age group is far from easy and highly subjective. But I find it significant that in 2025, 92% of all book challenges were initiated by pressure groups and government officials. Personally, these are not the people that I want in charge of making decisions of age appropriateness. As a former library media specialist in Knox County schools for over 30 years, my experience has been that our school librarians are diligent in building collections that are age appropriate for their students, and they are far more qualified to make these decisions than state legislators. While most of us are appalled by censorship, like the acts that I've talked about so far, our purpose this morning, hopefully, is not simply to rage and lament the injustice, although rage does seem like an appropriate reaction. But today, I do want us to celebrate books that, and other sources of information that have been challenged or banned and that have brought us meaning and enjoyment and have enriched our lives. So I would invite you for a minute to think back in your mind to a book, any book, regardless of whether it's controversial or not even, regardless of format. I'm a firm believer that an e-book or an audio book is just as authentic as a print book, and I'm just beginning to learn the many ways that we receive stories and information rather than in a printed form. That's a little harder for a lot of us to get our minds around, but it's the truth, and all of these are open to censorship. Could even think of a podcast or other source of information that has brought meaning to your life. Perhaps that book confirmed your deepest core beliefs, or perhaps it challenged them. Maybe it told the story of someone who had similar experiences and feelings to you. Maybe it gave you a sense of belonging in a world where you felt like an outsider. If you're like me, it may simply be a book that's beautifully written and tells an unforgettable story. Take just a minute and think about that. Think what that might be. Personally, when I try to think of the books I want to celebrate, I'm kind of overwhelmed. There's so many books that have moved me deeply and helped to shape my thinking. For today's purposes, I want to focus and hold up for you a couple of books from the Knox County list that I have read in the last few years and found especially meaningful. One of these books is entitled Out of Darkness by Ashley Hope Perez. And I've been retired a long time, but I would be unfaithful to my profession if I didn't hold the book up for you. So I have to find it. Out of Darkness by Ashley Hope Perez. This is a historical fiction book centered around the New London school explosion in 1937. Now, I may be the only person in the room who is familiar with the New London school disaster. Is anyone else in here? We must share something in our background then. I don't know. In March of 1937, the New London school, which was right in the heart of the East Texas oil fields, was heated with gas, obviously, and developed an undetected leak. When a shop teacher flipped the switch on a sander, the school instantly exploded, resulting in the deaths of 298 students and teachers. I was moved by Out of Darkness because of its powerful storytelling, but also because it reflects the social and political milieu that I knew growing up in rural East Texas. Although this tragedy happened 10 years before I was even born, I spent my childhood in rural communities within an hour's drive of New London. It was such a horrifying event that it remained a topic of conversation among adults throughout my childhood. Perez, the author, imagines a star-crossed romance between a black teenage boy and a young Latina girl. The story includes friendship, a loving family, community, But Perez does not shy away from depictions of sex, both consensual and non-consensual, and she wrestles with systemic racism, sex abuse, and domestic violence. Perez herself points out that although the book banners typically cite sexual explicit content as the reason for banning the books, a high percentage of the targeted titles center on the experiences of BIPOC and LGBTQ and other marginalized people. She sees these bans as a pretext for erasing the stories that tell these kids that they matter and belong. Children and young people, in fact, everybody, need stories about those who look like them and have experiences similar to them. And those of us in the majority need books about people who are different from us. And one more I'm going to hold up for you. This one is even a National Book Award winner in the young adult category. Last Night at the Telegraph Club by Melinda Lowe. I found this to be an extremely moving book. It's a coming-of-age novel set in the 1950s in San Francisco about a Chinese-American girl named Lily Hu, who discovers her identity as a lesbian. I loved this book because Lily's story was so beautifully told and it affected me so much to read her story, but also I got such a good look into what it must have been like, as close as I, as an older white woman, am ever going to get, into what it was like to be Chinese in America in the 1950s. I came across an essay by the author, Melinda Lowe, in another book that I need to show you, actually. The Right to Read Handbook. And I actually acquired this book right here at the West Side auction. I think thanks to Sherry and her group. Sherry had books from the bottom that we could bid on, and I snatched this one up. And there's a great essay in here by Melinda Lowe talking about the last night at the Telegraph Club. And I want to just share a couple of her comments from it. She says, "Last Night at the Telegraph Club is set in the United States in 1954 during the time of McCarthyism. This was a period when the U.S. government persecuted people it believed were communist sympathizers, including Chinese American immigrants and gay people. It was also a period of widespread book banning. I knew that the story I was telling would have parallels with contemporary reality, but I never imagined the parallels would become so clear." And then she ends her essay with this comment, which I thought just kind of sums up everything I wanted to say too. "Literature," she says, "is a good way to help people remember things. I write in order to help people remember things, that we can connect across differences of identity and geography and culture and time, that reading a book about someone different from you can show you how similar you are, how human." So I have copies of Out of Darkness and The Last Night at the Telegraph Club and a few others that are on the latest Knox County Schools 100 up here on the table in a place of honor for us this morning. And I hope you'll have a chance to come up and look at a few of them and celebrate them. you might find something there that piques your interest. I do think that one way we celebrate books and the ways that we get the information and the stories that are important to us is, I think one of the best ways to do that is to say thank you for those. And so Linda is going to help us with that at this time.
So this is your chance to participate too. So we're going to have a responsive reading. I'm going to read a statement, and after that I invite you to say, "We give thanks." Very simple? Okay. Here we go. For the books that stimulate our minds, open our souls, make us laugh until we cry, and offer company when we are hurting, scared, or lonely, we give thanks. For the books that remind us that someone else has faced us before us, books that connect us to others who have found comfort in their pages and teach us empathy in a world of difference, we give thanks. For the books that lead us to new ways of being and new faces for friendship, books that remind us of how the world used to be and how people throughout the ages have worked to make it better, and books that teach us how the world may yet be remade with greater justice, love, and compassion. We give thanks. For the books that affirm the dignity and life of all and scare those in power as they show us how to resist, we give thanks. For all the books, banned, welcomed, or never challenged, books that have offered wisdom and inspiration or fostered courage and transformation, we give thanks. And may we forever be nourished by their words. These are words that was adapted from Emily R. Mace. Now, as I get my papers organized here, I'm going to talk about justice and generosity. If I can find my stuff here. So, as you know, Westside, like most all, if not all churches, depends on the generosity of its congregation to pay the staff, keep the lights, and the air conditioning, most welcome right now, pay for insurance, and so on and so on. It's a long list. But it's also one of our ministries to provide financial and other kinds of support for community organizations. Each quarter, we sponsor a particular organization, and for this quarter, that organization is Keep the Tennessee River Beautiful. If you heard our service last week when representatives from Keep Tennessee River Beautiful came and told us about what they do, and it was so amazing and inspiring to hear how much trash they have removed from the river and how they are working to restore the much depleted population of native mussels that once filtered the river water and kept it clear and clean, unlike what it is today. So if you'd like to donate to Westside or to Keep Tennessee River Beautiful, there are lots of ways you can do that. There are boxes at the back of the sanctuary here, one for our Justice and Generosity partner and one for Westside itself. You can donate by putting a check or cash into those boxes. There are QR codes on them you can use. There are also QR codes in your order of service, on your screen if you're watching on YouTube, on our website. There are lots of ways you can donate. And we would appreciate, and Keep the Tennessee River Beautiful would also certainly appreciate any donations that they receive. Okay. So now another opportunity to participate, because I'm going to ask the choir to come up and lead us in what I think is a familiar song for most of us here, Sing and Rejoice.
We need to tell people. We need to tell people how it's going to go. So we're going to sing
it's a very short song. We're going to sing it together twice in unison, and then we're going to sing it as a round. So the people on this side will lead the folks on this side. We're going to start first, and then the people on this side are going to join in with the second part. So the round is going to be split. The words go sing and rejoice, let all things living now sing and rejoice. So after the second sing and rejoice, that's when the second part's going to start. So, all make sense? Good.
was okay. That sounded wonderful. Yeah. As we get ready for our benediction, it is our custom here at Westside to stand if you are willing and able, and to hold hands with your neighbor if that feels good to you. If it doesn't, it is entirely fine not to hold hands. As Reverend Carroll always reminds us, it's perfectly fine to hold your own hand. And I have these closing words which come from Adam Slate. Be kind, be brave, be just. Be merciful, be hopeful. This is how we keep the chalice flame burning until we are together again to light it anew. Go in peace.